The crystal chandeliers of the Whitmore Grand Hotel lobby blazed with afternoon light, scattering sharp geometric reflections across marble floors polished to a mirror shine. Constance Whitmore walked through the space she had personally designed years ago. Yet today, the building she owned did not feel like hers. Her steps were measured, but they were not chosen freely. Leon Hale walked beside her, half a step behind, as though guiding a partner through a carefully choreographed dance. To anyone watching, he appeared professional, an associate, perhaps a consultant. But beneath the pressed wool of his black suit jacket, something cold and unyielding pressed firmly into the small of Constance's back. A weapon. She didn't need instructions to understand the rules. No shouting, no running, no reaching for her phone. They passed the concierge desk where a janitor mopped quietly, water pooling around the slow, deliberate strokes of his mop. Constance saw him not directly, but reflected in the marble beneath her feet, and she made her move. Her hand dropped naturally to her side. Between one heartbeat and the next, her fingers formed shapes in the empty air. "Help me. He has a weapon." The janitor's mop stopped mid-stroke, but he did not look up. Silas Henry had learned long ago that invisible people see everything. For 3 years, he had worked the day's shift at the Whitmore Grand, pushing his cleaning cart through polished hallways and gleaming lobby floors that guests crossed without a single downward glance. Every surface told him something. A scuff mark near the elevator meant someone had stumbled, likely drunk. A coffee stain by the business center suggested a meeting that hadn't ended well. A faint scratch near the service corridor meant a luggage cart had been pushed too fast. In a world that rarely acknowledged his presence, excellence was his only voice. But the real reason Silas noticed everything was his daughter. Matilda was 7 years old with dark curls that never stayed neatly braided and a smile capable of lighting up any room she entered, though she could not hear the laughter that followed. Born deaf, she had taught her father a different way of seeing the world. When your child cannot hear you call her name, you learn to watch reflections in windows, shadows on walls, movement in peripheral vision. You learn that silence is not empty. It is information waiting to be read. Every morning before work, Silas dropped Matilda at the special education program 3 blocks from the hotel. Over time, they developed their own language, a blend of American Sign Language and the private gestures families create across years of shared understanding. A tap on the wrist meant, "Pay attention." A tug on the earlobe meant, "I love you." A hand over the heart meant, "You are safe." Other parents sometimes offered pity he had never asked for. Some questioned how difficult it must be to raise a child who communicated with hands instead of words. Silas stopped trying to educate them. Matilda didn't need their understanding. She needed a father who showed up. That morning had already been unusual. His daily assignment from facilities management came with strict instructions. The VIP wing needed to be spotless. All maintenance staff were to work quickly and quietly. Do not make eye contact. Do not ask questions. Do not linger. Silas had seen Audrey Finn, head of security, pacing the lobby more than usual, adjusting the earpiece that connected her to the hotel's internal network. Bridget Louisa, the senior receptionist whose calm smile could dissolve even the most irate guest complaint, had quietly pulled him aside near the elevators. "We have a special situation today," she'd whispered, eyes flicking toward the executive offices. "Just keep your head down and make sure nothing goes wrong." Now he understood why. The CEO had just signed to him. "Help me. He has a weapon." His first instinct was to look up, but her final sign was unmistakable. "Do not look up." Silas resumed mopping, though his rhythm slowed slightly. His heartbeat thundered in his ears as adrenaline surged through him. If he shouted for security, Leon might panic and fire. If he ran for help, Constance would be alone with an armed man. If he did nothing, he would carry that weight forever. He had 90 seconds to decide. Silas thought of Matilda, waiting for him after school. He thought of the promise he made to her dying mother. Keep our daughter safe. Come home every night. But he also remembered another promise, one he made to himself. Never stand by while someone suffers, because intervention feels too dangerous. He set down his mop and picked up the yellow caution sign. Walking calmly toward the VIP elevators, he placed it directly in Constance and Leon's path. Wet floor, slippery surface. A minor inconvenience. A 30-second delay. But 30 seconds might be enough. Leon noticed a sign immediately and frowned. "This hotel has excellent maintenance," he muttered dryly as he steered Constance toward a secondary hallway. Silas didn't react until they passed. Then he moved quickly. Inside the supply closet, he grabbed the wall-mounted phone and dialed the 3-digit extension for security. Audrey Finn answered on the first ring. "Maintenance. What do you need?" "This is Silas Henry from day's shift," he said quietly, forcing his voice steady. "You need to watch the VIP route right now. The CEO is in danger. The man with her has a weapon. Do not approach directly. Silent response only." A pause. Then Audrey replied, her tone suddenly sharp with focus. "I'm looking at the cameras now. I see them. Are you certain about the weapon?" "She signed to me," Silas said. "Sign language. She told me he's forcing her to sign a contract." Another pause, shorter this time. "Stay on this line," Audrey ordered. "Do not hang up." Silas heard her speaking rapidly to someone else in the background. Then she returned. "I'm sending Bridget to create a diversion in the main lobby. I need you to move slowly down the VIP hallway and create legitimate reasons for delays. Make it look like routine work. Buy us time to set up a controlled intervention." Silas looked toward the hallway where Constance had disappeared. "I can do that," he said. And he meant it. For 3 years, he had been invisible inside this hotel. Today, invisibility would be his greatest weapon. Years before Matilda was born, Silas had worked in private security, risk assessment for corporate clients who paid generously to be protected from threats they barely understood. He had been good at it. He knew how to stay calm under pressure, how to read body language, how to calculate response times and escape routes in seconds. But then his wife got sick. Cancer, fast and merciless. After the funeral, Silas walked away from that world. The job required a hardness he no longer possessed. He needed something stable, something that allowed him to be home every night for Matilda. So he became invisible, a janitor who cleaned floors and went home. But the training never left him. Now, as he pushed his cart down the VIP hallway, he moved at his usual pace, neither hurried nor slow. When he reached the elevator bank, he pressed the service button and then pretended to notice an issue with the control panel. He didn't disable the elevator, but he did activate maintenance mode, forcing anyone attempting to use it to call for assistance first. It was a small inconvenience, but small inconveniences create hesitation. Leon and Constance reached the elevators 90 seconds later. Leon pressed a button. Nothing happened. A small maintenance notice blinked beside the panel. He frowned. "Is this normal?" he asked. Constance kept her expression neutral. "Sometimes the system glitches. We can take the service stairs." Leon's eyes narrowed. Something felt wrong, but he couldn't identify what. "Service stairs," he said finally. Silas watched their reflection in a decorative mirror from a housekeeping alcove as they turned away. Then he moved again. At the front desk, Bridget Louisa didn't look up from her screen as he approached. "He's taking her to the service stairs," Silas whispered. Her fingers flew across the keyboard instantly, transmitting the update to the hotel's internal network. Moments later, she raised her voice warmly to greet arriving guests, directing staff toward luggage carts and restaurant reservations, creating a bubble of normalcy that concealed the unfolding emergency. But 3 floors below, in the security office, normal no longer existed. Audrey Finn pulled up live camera feeds from the service stairwell, VIP corridor, and executive conference rooms. She contacted Ronnie George in IT, instructing him to log every camera angle and timestamp. Then she made the hardest call of her career. Police would stage 3 blocks away. No sirens, no lights, silent approach. If Leon heard emergency vehicles, people would die. Leon pushed open the stairwell door and gestured for Constance to enter first. The space was concrete and utilitarian, a stark contrast to the luxury of the guest areas. As they climbed, Leon finally spoke again. "I had hoped this could be civilized. Walk into an office, sign some papers, part as business associates. But your hotel seems determined to create complications." "I don't control elevator maintenance schedules," Constance replied calmly. "No," Leon agreed, but you control everything else, which is why this contract is necessary. They reached the VIP floor. Leon directed her into a small conference room where a leather portfolio already sat waiting on the table. Inside was the contract. Forged signatures already in place. Witness lines complete. All it needed was hers. "Please sit," Leon said. Constance obeyed slowly and began reading. Not because she intended to sign, but because every second mattered. "This will take time," she said. "Take your time," Leon replied, his hand resting inside his jacket. "But not too much." Outside the room, Silas watched through the glass panel as Leon positioned himself between Constance and the exit. Silas couldn't enter without escalating the situation, but he could control the hallway. He angled his cleaning cart to partially block the corridor. Then he knelt beside an electrical outlet and removed the cover plate as if checking wiring. To the cameras, he was doing routine maintenance. To Audrey Finn, he was signaling readiness. Her voice came quietly through his radio. "Officers are staged at both stairwells. When I give the signal, create a distraction, something loud but not threatening." Silas clicked the radio twice. Inside the conference room, Constance reached the final page. "Enough," Leon said, pulling out a pen. "Sign it." She picked it up but paused. "One question," she said. "How did you know about my grandfather's debt? Those records were sealed." Leon smiled. "That's the beauty of patience. I've been planning this for 3 years." A confession. He wasn't working alone. There was inside help, and that meant evidence. Beneath the table, Constance's fingers moved again. "Help now. Close." Silas saw the signs through the glass. He grabbed a metal tool tray and dropped it. The crash echoed down the hallway. Leon's head snapped toward the door. Silas knelt slowly, gathering tools. "Apologies," he muttered. 5 seconds. But 5 seconds was enough. Audrey Finn and 2 officers appeared at the far end of the hallway, moving silently into position. 3 fingers. 2. 1. Audrey opened the door. Leon spun, his weapon emerging. But Constance had been watching. From beneath the table, she saw Silas in the doorway as he signed one word. "Down." She dropped instantly. Leon's attention fractured. Officers rushed forward, shouting commands. Leon grabbed for Constance, but caught air. Then Ronnie George cut the conference room lights remotely. Darkness swallowed everything for 3 seconds. Officers wearing night vision moved with trained efficiency. When the lights returned, Leon was on the floor, weapon secured, hands restrained. He shouted threats about lawyers and lawsuits, but no one listened. 17 minutes later, he was escorted out through the service entrance. The next morning brought answers. Leon had been funded by a shell corporation with organized crime ties, and he had inside help from a senior vice president within Whitmore's own organization. Arrests were coming. But Constance found herself thinking about something else entirely. Silas Henry. She asked to see him that afternoon. He arrived in his damp uniform, clearly uncomfortable on the executive level. Constance stood when he entered. "You saved my life," she said simply, "and I never even knew your name." Silas hadn't acted for recognition. He acted because it was right. "Police told me you learned sign language for your daughter," she continued. "Yes. Because you learned her language, you were able to help someone who needed it." She walked a window. "I'm going to create a fund to support families with children who have disabilities. Scholarships, therapy, equipment." She turned back to him. "I would like to name it after your daughter." Silas blinked in disbelief. "You don't need to do that." "I know," Constance said. "I want to." She paused. "I'd also like to offer you a new position, Director of Employee Safety and Wellness." Silas stared. "I'm a janitor." "You're someone who sees invisible people," she replied. "This organization needs that." After a long moment, "I accept." 3 months later, a plaque was unveiled in the Whitmore Grand Lobby beside a new silent emergency alert system designed by Silas himself. It was funded by the Matilda Henry Foundation for Children with Disabilities. Matilda stood beside her father, proudly holding his hand. Constance approached and signed carefully. "Your father is a hero." Matilda looked at Silas. He nodded. She signed back, "I know. He's my dad." And somewhere in the city, Leon Hale sat in a jail cell awaiting trial. While a CEO who once believed power meant control learned instead that real power meant seeing people no one else noticed. Because on one terrifying afternoon, a silent signal became salvation, and the invisible became essential.